Look at the opportunity I get, man. I've time traveled. I have walked the streets of Rome. Where anything in my perspective that I can see is 100% 184 AD. That's what people are dressed like, that's what it smells like, the animals, whatever, you know?
From conquering Rome's Coliseum to walking away from Hollywood's glare, Russell Crowe's story defies the usual celebrity trajectory. What drives a man at the peak of fame to trade red carpets for rugged cattle fields? And how does this choice transform not just his life, but his legacy? At 61, Crowe has left behind award ceremonies and tabloids to embrace quiet mornings feeding alpacas and evenings playing guitar with his sons. This isn't just retirement, it's a radical reinvention that reveals a deeper truth about success, family, and finding peace beyond the spotlight. Leaving Hollywood's spotlight. At the height of his fame, Russell Crowe made a decision few stars dare to consider. He chose to leave Hollywood behind. By the time he was 61, the relentless pace, scrutiny, and pressure of the film industry felt less like a dream and more like a cage. Crowe recognized that the life of constant travel, late nights, and endless rehearsals was pulling him away from what truly mattered: his family and personal peace. Rather than chasing fading glory, he sought a different kind of fulfillment, one grounded far from the glare of cameras and flashing lights. This choice wasn't sudden or whimsical. Years of intense work and personal challenges had worn on him, revealing the toll fame exacted. Behind the scenes, Crowe was navigating an unforgiving industry that demanded his soul as much as his talent. The man who once stormed the Coliseum on screen found himself battling the Hollywood system's rigid expectations and relentless demands off-camera. He realized that the roles he played for the world didn't necessarily align with who he wanted to be in life. Crowe's awareness of what he was sacrificing deepened as he watched his sons growing up between hotel suites and airplane seats. It became clear that the lifestyle wasn't sustainable, not for him, and especially not for his family. So he chose to trade an opulent mansion near Sydney for a sprawling rural retreat, symbolizing a break from the artificiality of Hollywood. This was more than a home change. It was a profound shift in values and daily existence. By stepping back, Crowe wasn't abandoning his craft, but redefining success on his own terms. Rather than measuring achievement through awards or box office numbers, he began to value simple, authentic experiences, feeding livestock at dawn, repairing fences, and reconnecting with nature. These moments of quiet, deliberate living contrasted starkly with the chaotic intensity of his earlier career, revealing a side of him cameras rarely captured. Leaving Hollywood meant confronting the loss of celebrity perks and public adulation. Crowe willingly shed the glamour and the relentless spotlight, choosing anonymity over accolades. It was a leap into the unknown for a man who had been defined by his roles and reputation for decades. Yet, this decision brought a sense of liberation, a cleansing by fire, as he later described, selling off memorabilia to fund his new way of life. Unsurprisingly, walking away sparked curiosity and speculation. Fans and tabloids wondered if Crowe was fading into obscurity or if he'd lost his edge. But those who knew him understood this was a deliberate, courageous act of reclaiming his identity away from external pressures. Rather than succumb to Hollywood's relentless pace, he chose to master his own rhythm in the Australian wilderness. The retreat that became home offers more than solitude. It is a space for rediscovery, healing, and growth. Here, Crowe embodies a rare kind of success, one measured by connection, legacy, and well-being rather than fame. This story of escape invites reflection. What does it truly mean to have it all? And what must one give up to find peace? Understanding this turning point lays the foundation to appreciate where Crowe started, from gritty early roles to global stardom, and the full arc of his remarkable career. Russell Crowe's journey to renown began far from the royal courts of Rome or the bright lights of Hollywood studios. Rise to fame. Russell Crowe's ascent to stardom was anything but traditional. Born in New Zealand and raised in Australia, he exploded onto the scene with an intense, unforgettable performance as Hando, a violent neo-Nazi in the 1992 cult film Romper Stomper. His portrayal was so raw and authentic that it unsettled audiences and even drew police attention for months. This raw volcanic rage translated into a powerful screen presence, setting the stage for a career defined by passion and grit. In just 8 years, Crowe climbed from indie notoriety to Hollywood's Olympus. His breakout continued with 1997's L.A. Confidential, where, as Detective Bud White, he combined brute force with nuanced emotion, stealing scenes even from seasoned actors. Industry insiders dubbed him a grenade with the pin out, a nod to his explosive talent and unpredictable energy. By the turn of the millennium, he had fully arrived. The year 2000 marked a crucial point with Gladiator, cementing Crowe's status as a leading man. His commitment was legendary, famously rejecting a rubber sword during filming, insisting on real steel for authenticity. The film's sweeping success and his commanding portrayal of Maximus brought him global acclaim, along with an Oscar for Best Actor. Gladiator became a cultural touchstone and the apex of Crowe's acting achievements. He managed to astonish the critics for the third time in a row with the film A Beautiful Mind in 2001, which told the story of the mathematician John Nash, and Crowe got once again an Oscar nomination for this role. The director insisted on subtlety, so he rewrote the breakdown scene at night, choosing whispers instead of shouting. This intriguing and subtle acting won him yet another Oscar nomination and proved his ability to go beyond the warrior archetype. Crowe was the first person to gain double Best Actor nominations since Marlon Brando, and this showed that he was really a versatile actor. Still, Crowe was under the praise wrestling with his stormy character. The news of his explosive temper and extreme work consumption spread like wildfire. He was being pictured as a genius with a problem due to the stories that were leaking of him storming editing suites and having public fights. A certain colleague said of him that he was a Category 5 hurricane, and besides that, he was the man who fought inner devils and at the same time gave powerful performances. Crowe's volatility was the primary reason why he was unable to lose his fans and collaborators' attraction. He was sometimes seen as that kind of man who, for example, would fund cancer treatments for crew members' families without letting anybody know, or he would turn to music when needing to calm down. Among the hints of his complexity was a private softness, seldom seen by the public, that was reflected in his 7 guitars and night-playing sessions. Eventually, these facets would lead him away from Hollywood's demands. Crowe's ascent was somehow analogous to a never-ending hunt for an identity through art, where he often paid his personal cost. The fire of his ambition blasted him higher than he had ever been, but at the same time it cost him relationships and stability. The above scenario accounts for the vivid difference when later he opted for quietness instead of fame, a choice that was not only a reflection of his ephemerally high-pressured rise, but also a very deliberate one. The story then turns from a young actor's ascent to the firestorms he weathered in and out of the spotlight, shaping the man who would one day choose a radically different path. The turbulence of fame framed Crowe's personal life, where public clashes and private battles intertwined. Turbulent personal life. Russell Crowe's life off-screen was marked by as much intensity as his roles. His passionate nature often led to public confrontations and headlines. In 1999, he was arrested after a brawl in a Canadian pub. In 2002, he faced detention following a hotel fight in London. Crowe would later describe himself as a gladiator without a shield, exposed and vulnerable beyond the characters he played. Relationships added another complex layer. His high-profile love affair with Meg Ryan during the filming of Proof of Life in 2000 fueled global tabloid fervor. The romance, set against the backdrop of a jungle film shoot, was intense and widely covered, shining a spotlight not only on his professional life, but his private passions. Later, Crowe's enduring relationship with Danielle Spencer began with a memorable encounter at a Sydney bar, cementing a real-life love that would shape his family life for years. However, personal struggles mounted. Following his 2012 divorce, Crowe took a drastic step by auctioning off much of his prized Hollywood memorabilia, including costumes and awards. He called this process a cleansing by fire, a symbolic purging of anchors to a past that had grown burdensome. Even fellow actors like Cate Blanchett bought pieces of his collection, reflecting both respect and a collective recognition of his transformation. Crowe's tempestuous side was displayed in moments of public outburst, such as famously throwing a phone at a hotel clerk in 2005 after a disconnected call from his wife. He openly admitted these episodes to late-night hosts, revealing a man struggling to balance his immense inner pressures with the expectations of celebrity. Yet amidst the chaos, Crowe's generosity often went unnoticed by the press. He contributed anonymously to causes close to his heart, reflecting a private kindness contrasting the public's perception of volatility. Music served as a refuge, with Crowe owning multiple guitars and playing them nightly to soothe his storms, revealing a softer, more introspective side. These personal battles and reconciliations laid groundwork for his eventual retreat from the spotlight. They underscore the toll Hollywood can take on even its brightest stars. Crowe's willingness to confront and share his struggles adds depth to his story, illustrating that the man behind the fame was as complex as any character he portrayed. This turbulence helped define the turning point when Crowe chose a different life, one defined not by frenzy, but by focus on what truly sustained him: family, land, and creative renewal. Having seen the cost of fame firsthand, Russell Crowe's next chapter embraces a quieter, more deliberate existence. Family and farming life. Russell Crowe's retreat from Hollywood was not merely a physical relocation. It marked a profound transformation in his daily life and priorities. In 2018, he left behind his sprawling mansion near Sydney to live full-time on a 1,000-acre property in Nana Glen, about 350 miles north. This land, once part of a 19th-century dairy empire, became the heart of a new chapter focused on family, nature, and restoration. Crowe's intention was clear. He wanted his sons to grow up knowing the soil beneath their feet rather than hotel floors. Morning routines now begin long before dawn, with Crowe hand-feeding a herd of alpacas and caring for over 100 cattle and 300 sheep. Neighbors recount spotting him in worn flannel shirts, fixing fences and working alongside local contractors after storms. One such neighbor remembered Crowe helping pull a ute from the mud in the dead of winter, concerned not for thanks, but for the health of a friend's daughter undergoing cancer treatment. This side of Crowe is rarely captured by cameras. a rugged, grounded man whose days follow the rhythms of the seasons, not studio schedules. Afternoons on the farm are devoted to maintaining heritage barns and a daily regimen Crowe humbly calls carpentry therapy. The physical work, demanding and tangible, offers a sharp contrast to the intangible pressures of acting. Evenings bring another kind of connection. Crowe often sits on the veranda playing guitar alongside his sons, Tennyson, aged 19, and Charles, 16. His ex-wife, Danielle Spencer, notes that the boys know far more about animal husbandry than acting, a testament to their father's influence and the farm's importance in their upbringing. Family dinners are sacrosanct moments where technology takes a back seat. Crowe enforces strict rules. No phones at the table, just conversation and stargazing when the night falls. It is a conscious effort to cultivate presence and bonding in an age dominated by digital distraction. This environment nurtures new dreams. Charles, for example, now aspires to be a veterinarian, inspired by his hands-on experiences with the animals. The farm is also a place where Crowe gives back during times of crisis. When neighboring towns were flooded in 2022, he used his bulldozer to clear roads, helping emergency crews reach stranded residents. His practical generosity echoes throughout the community, revealing a man deeply rooted in his environment and committed to service over spectacle. More than a retreat, Crowe's farm embodies a renewal of purpose and a reclaiming of identity beyond celebrity. The quiet labor and family life he embraces contrast vividly with his former existence, offering a new kind of success measured by care and connection rather than applause. This daily immersion in pastoral life hasn't diminished Crowe's creative energy. It has redirected it toward personal and artistic pursuits that bring him fulfillment on his own terms. Music remains an essential part of Russell Crowe's life, bridging his past and present in unexpected ways. Health, mindfulness, and renewal. Away from Hollywood's relentless rhythm, Russell Crowe has rediscovered a more sustainable balance between body and mind. Years of physical demands, from sword fighting in Gladiator to the psychological weight of playing tortured figures like John Nash, had taken a toll on his health. On the farm, Crowe began a deliberate process of renewal, focusing on the fundamentals of strength, endurance, and inner peace, rather than appearance or vanity. In interviews since his move, Crowe has admitted to gaining weight during his later Hollywood years, calling it the body armor of stress. Farm life changed that, not through rigorous celebrity workouts, but through labor itself. Repairing fences, hauling hay, riding horses, and managing livestock replaced gym sessions. As he once told a local reporter, "You don't need a treadmill when you've got 100 acres of fences to mend." His transformation wasn't about physique, but vitality, a return to feeling capable, grounded, and alive. More importantly, the countryside offered a mental reset. Crowe began incorporating mindfulness and solitude into his days, often taking long morning walks across dew-soaked pastures with his dog, Toby. These walks became a meditative ritual, offering space for reflection and gratitude. He described them as soundtracks of quiet, an antidote to the chaos that defined much of his earlier life. This renewed focus on mental well-being also reshaped his relationship with fame and stress. Gone were the sleepless nights of production schedules and press tours. In their place came simple routines, rising with the sun, tending to animals, and ending the day under starlit skies. Crowe has said he now sleeps better than at any other point in his life, attributing it to the honesty of exhaustion, the kind that comes from physical work rather than emotional strain. He also found healing in reconnecting with spirituality, though not in a traditional religious sense. Crowe calls it environmental faith, a reverence for the natural order. Whether pausing to watch storms roll in across the plains or planting trees with his sons, he finds a sense of belonging in observing life's rhythms. "The land keeps you humble," he once remarked. "It doesn't care who you've been. It only responds to what you do." Nutrition and simplicity play key roles in this holistic renewal. Gone are catered spreads and hotel dining. Instead, Crowe eats from his own garden, often preparing fresh vegetables, eggs, and locally sourced meats. He has spoken of learning traditional recipes from his grandmother's cookbooks and teaching his sons the value of self-sufficiency. "There's pride in feeding your family something you've grown or raised yourself," he explained. Crowe's wellness journey reflects a larger philosophical shift, one that many who leave high-stress industries can relate to. By embracing a life of authenticity, physical engagement, and mindfulness, he demonstrates that peace is not found in withdrawal, but in deeper participation with life's essentials. The simplicity of rural living has become his greatest luxury, offering balance, health, and perspective after decades of intensity. This commitment to holistic renewal complements every other aspect of his reinvention, from family and philanthropy to creativity and legacy. It reinforces the truth that Russell Crowe's transformation is not an escape from life's challenges, but a wholehearted embrace of them, lived deliberately and in tune with both land and spirit. Music and creative pursuits. Music has long been a refuge and a constant companion for Russell Crowe, providing balance to the highs and lows of his acting career. By 2005, he owned 7 guitars, including a replica of Eric Clapton's famous Blackie Stratocaster. Playing guitar nightly helped him manage inner turmoil, offering a personal sanctuary amid Hollywood's tumult. This affectionate relationship with music has only deepened since his move to the countryside, where his barn was converted into a recording studio. His 2022 blues album, Indoor Garden Party, was recorded right on the farm, often between daily mustering of sheep. Sydney musician Ben Roberts, who collaborated on the project, describes how Crowe's vocals carried the gravel and dust of rural life, lending authenticity and emotional depth to the music. The album reflects a raw, honest legacy, one rooted in both Crowe's heritage and his new surroundings, capturing the interplay of nature's quiet grit and human resilience. Crowe's creative energy extends beyond music into other passions, like his whiskey brand, The Groans, named after his great-grandfather's pub. The whiskey is matured in barrels stored in his machinery shed, where temperature fluctuations impart unique qualities to the spirit. This attention to craft and detail mirrors the care Crowe applies to both music and farming, underscoring his commitment to authenticity and legacy. Recording music amidst the rhythms of farm life offers Crowe a way to merge his artistic expression with his everyday reality. The blend of natural sounds and human creativity anchors his work in a tangible sense of place, far removed from the artificiality of movie sets and red carpets. This creative reinvention aligns with Crowe's broader philosophy: to give studios his work, but not his soul. Music allows him ownership over his artistic voice and a way to nurture his family's heritage. It becomes a symbol of personal liberation and quiet triumph. His daily music sessions with his sons also strengthen family bonds, fostering shared experiences that contrast with the isolation fame often brings. Through music, Crowe passes down lessons of resilience, passion, and grounding to the next generation. This artistic chapter reveals that Crowe's departure from Hollywood was not a retreat, but an evolution, a redefinition of success through the lens of creativity lived on his own terms. As Crowe forges ahead with music and farming, his story also unfolds in the realm of philanthropy and community, reflecting the values he now cherishes most deeply. Philanthropy and community work. Russell Crowe's retreat from fame did not lessen his commitment to making a difference. If anything, it deepened his focus on philanthropy and community. In 2021, he transformed his childhood Auckland home into the Crowe's Nest, a free film school expressly designed for underprivileged teens. Each July, 12 students attend intensive workshops where they learn vital behind-the-scenes skills such as camera repair, lighting setups, and editing. Crowe has emphasized that the program teaches trades that feed families, reflecting his belief that film is not just about acting, but craftsmanship and sustainability. The impact of this initiative has already been profound. One graduate, Leilani Tala, secured a role working on a Netflix production, demonstrating how practical skills can open doors in the entertainment industry. Crowe's approach challenges traditional career paths in film by shining a light on vital technical roles often overlooked by the public. His mantra, "Be the grip, not the star," underscores the idea that longevity comes from building worlds, not chasing fleeting fame. Crowe's philanthropic efforts extend beyond education. He has played a crucial role in preserving Indigenous culture by funding the Gumbanger Language Project, which digitizes recordings of First Nations elders from the 19th century. Linguist Clark Webb describes how Crowe spent weeks with the team, highlighting the actors' genuine dedication. For Crowe, these voices are treasures that outlast any blockbuster, a poetic reminder that legacy often resides in preservation, not performance. His participation in sports also spans with his part ownership of the rugby team South Sydney Rabbitohs. Crowe obligates players to give back to the community, thus requiring them to volunteer for community service, like figuratively cleaning up their own mess, instead of just signing and getting their autographs. He reiterated this ethos after the Rabbitohs won their 2023 championship, reinforcing the principles of humility and connection even in the midst of success. While a lot of famous people push self-promoting images, often hidden behind quieter forms of giving, Crowe is a man who stands firmly with the part offering that is deeply grateful for the granting of his long-standing need of giving. Thus, he is deeply invested in the change that lasts. His philanthropy, which is in fact his identity, hints at the man's purpose having been a minor light, hence less of a spotlight, but more about roots and responsibility. This community work of his forms a story of a man who doesn't count his influence by how many people have seen his movie, but lives he has touched. Crowe's contribution to the care of the young and the Indigenous cultures revolves around his own journey of personal identity and belonging. He feeds the roots that are capable of supporting him through the transient and glamorous world of Hollywood. This part of his life symbolizes a larger one, a legacy that is built on mentorship, preservation, and empowerment. Focusing on these acts of service, Crowe demonstrates a different kind of heroism that is based on humility and commitment. His changing role reflects how a public figure can use his or her influence to create not only films, he or she builds futures. This focus on community and legacy opens a door to Crowe's rekindled involvement in filmmaking itself, but on terms defined by collaboration, locality, and teaching. Reinventing filmmaking. Though Russell Crowe walked away from Hollywood's high-pressure arena, his passion for storytelling has not dimmed. Rather, it has found new expression closer to home. In 2022, he directed Poker Face, a film shot entirely within a 50-mile radius of his farm. This local approach allowed him to work with community crews, blending his artistic vision with opportunities to nurture regional talent. Crowe's emphasis on local collaboration reflects his belief that filmmaking is a craft, best learned and practiced as a trade. This return to cinema serves as a continuation of his philosophy, one shaped by decades of industry experience and personal growth. Crowe has voiced the critique that Hollywood often forgets filmmaking as a trade, focusing on stardom rather than the skills that sustain the art and industry. His work aims to restore that balance, teaching younger generations the technical and creative disciplines behind the camera. In doing so, Crowe embraces a mentorship role, transferring knowledge and encouraging practical learning. His initiatives outside the mainstream spotlight empower those typically marginalized in the film business. This reinvention of his filmmaking career aligns with his broader reinvention as a man who values authenticity and roots over fame and excess. His decision to film near his farm also exemplifies how deeply place influences creativity. Being physically tied to the land and community fosters a grounded approach to art that contrasts sharply with the frenetic pace of Hollywood productions. Crowe's work underscores that great stories can emerge from intimacy and connection rather than spectacle. This new chapter in filmmaking marks not an end, but a transformation. Crowe blends his artistic skill with the rhythms and realities of rural life, redefining what it means to be a filmmaker in the modern era. It is a return to fundamentals, with a future oriented around teaching and collaboration. In stepping away from major studios and large productions, Crowe challenges assumptions about success and visibility in the film world. His work proves that impactful cinema can be created outside traditional power centers, crafted with care and community spirit. Crowe's hands-on involvement, from directing to working alongside local crews, speaks to his ongoing commitment to building worlds not just for the screen, but as part of a living, breathing culture. This grounded approach to filmmaking mirrors the values he's embraced in farming and family life. The journey from Hollywood star to local filmmaker and mentor reveals a man who has reclaimed control over his craft and legacy, curating a career that feels authentic, meaningful, and enduring. His story is a testament to the power of reinvention fueled by purpose and place. With every new project and act of giving back, Crowe writes a chapter not only in film history, but in the larger story of a life well chosen and deliberately lived. Legacy and philosophy on fame. Russell Crowe's departure from Hollywood is not just a story of reinvention. It is a profound reflection on what legacy truly means. At 61, Crowe embraces a philosophy that contrasts sharply with the common thirst for lasting fame. He calls fame a rental car, something temporary that you eventually return. This view underscores a shift from seeking permanence in public acclaim to finding enduring value elsewhere, particularly in family and the land he tends. For Crowe, true legacy lies not in awards or memorabilia, but in living things and meaningful roots. He often speaks of the trees his sons have planted on the farm, living monuments that will outlast any movie or accolade. This metaphor reveals his deeper desire to build something tangible and lasting, beyond Hollywood's transient spotlight. It is a legacy measured by growth, patience, and connection to the earth. His attitude toward the film industry has evolved accordingly. Crowe urges artists to give studios their work but not their souls, emphasizing creative integrity over commercial pressures. He recognizes that studios can recycle content endlessly but cannot consume or erase the human spirit. This boundary between art and self preserves the artist's essence, allowing Crowe to sustain his passion without losing himself. Crowe's perspective on aging also resonated widely when he described wrinkles as life subtitles, telling stories that no script can capture. This honest embrace of aging contrasts with Hollywood's obsession with youth and perfection, reflecting Crowe's comfort in authenticity. His face, he says, now tells his story, a story marked by struggle, growth, and resilience. Beyond personal philosophy, Crowe measures success in moments that others might overlook. Recently, he spent 3 nights assisting in delivering a breech calf on the farm, calling the standing newborn his ultimate standing ovation. This intimacy with life and labor captures a richness that celebrity awards cannot match. It is achievement rooted in care and presence rather than applause. Crowe's generosity and humility also define his emerging legacy. Friends and colleagues speak of a man who, unlike many stars, measures his impact by service and community engagement. Whether clearing roads during floods or supporting underprivileged youth through film education, his actions embody a purpose-driven life. These contributions speak louder than any red carpet appearance. His memoir, slated for release in 2025, promises raw reflection and insight into his transformative journey. Early leaks suggest it will detail his 2012 divorce auction, a symbolic cleansing that funded his farm life and ultimate liberation. This narrative promises to deepen our understanding of how Crowe chose freedom and authenticity over Hollywood's trappings. The boy from New Zealand who once stormed Rome's Coliseum has stepped off the stage to cultivate a different kind of triumph, one of peace, purpose, and enduring legacy. Russell Crowe's journey teaches us that true success isn't measured by fame, but by the depth of connection and authenticity in life. From Hollywood's spotlight to the quiet rhythms of farm life, Crowe shows us the power of choosing purpose over prestige. If you found his story inspiring, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more insightful stories about the lives behind the fame.